Hi, I'm Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. By accessing this presentation, you're inviting me to share this information regarding our passage through this challenging and yet very hopeful time we're currently living in. This is the care and feeding of a New World Age report for the Gregorian date of June 6, 2012, which is One Wind in the Mayan Tzolkin calendar. We'll also discuss Mercury moving into Cancer, Jupiter moving into Gemini, the mutations of humans from having 7 chakras to becoming 9-centered beings. June 6th is One Wind, and this carries the themes of air, breath, life force, prana, chi, that which animates life, inspiration, imagination, the spark of creativity and spirit, communication, the dissemination of seeds and ideas. The day glyph for wind is a T-shaped cross that represents the Mayan god of wind, but is also symbolic of trees, which restore the life energy to the air. This 13-day period would be a good time to communicate your inspiration and connect with that part of your life force that makes you truly unique. Astrologically, the One Wind Tzolkin begins with Venus, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto all appearing to be moving in reverse motion from our perspective here on Earth. And what happens is when we have Venus retrograde, people are reviewing their relationships. And with Saturn retrograde in Libra, which is the sign of relationships, some couples are trying to determine whether they need to face the pain of ending the relationship. And both those planets turn direct towards the end of June, with Venus moving forward on the 27th and Saturn on the 25th. And once direct, Saturn will be moving towards Scorpio. It actually got to 29.5 degrees, almost right in Scorpio. Looked at Scorpio and then turned backwards when it went retrograde. So it's really going to be a lot of energy moving towards Scorpio, which you will enter into Scorpio on October 5th. At which point, the pain that's being experienced in being with someone who really no longer inspires growth in us, that will become more intensified. And Saturn in Scorpio will also turn on the heat, off the heat on couples who feel like they settled, because it really requires a deeper commitment. And for some, Saturn in Scorpio may bring the desired experience, their twin flame of being with one's true spiritual partner. And you know, I have to say that given these upcoming Pluto-Uranus squares that are going to happen 7 times over the next 4 years, I think that we're entering into a time where the metal of our relationships will really be tested. With this first exact hit will be occurring in the next Tzolkin. So I'm going to discuss the history and implications of the Uranus-Pluto square in depth during the One Eagle report on the 19th. June 6th is One Wind. This is about unity being experienced through communication, which I think is really magical, that's the energy when everybody west of the international dateline is experiencing the Venus transit across the face of the sun. Because you think about it, you got Venus and the sun, they're merged, that's unity, and they're both in Gemini, which is the planet which is about communication. On the One Wind Tzolkin beginning of unity, being one, and wind is experienced through communication. So I just love that stuff. Anyway, so this also on this day we've got the Capricorn moon being supported by Mars and challenged by Saturn, brings a day that begins with the motivation to tackle a project and move it towards completion, and then the later hours giving way to feelings of loneliness with Saturn entering into this energy. Also, with this Venus and Gemini transiting across the sun, you know, the energy, I talked about this a lot in the last report, but this is about empowering the feminine, and it's bringing forward the events of the previous Venus transit in 2004. And if you missed the last report, it's worth looking at that information regarding all the history of the Venus transit in that report. So anyway, the seventh is about it's two-night, and this is about duality that's experienced through contemplating the stars as Mercury moves into the sign of Cancer for the next couple of weeks, which brings sensitivity and communication to family matters. And with the Sun being challenged by Mars, which can bring tension and friction, with the Capricorn moon being supported by Jupiter, which is optimistic and expands our social interactions. And then June 8th is 3 Seed, which is about taking action through planting seeds and making new connections, as Mercury is supported by Neptune, which brings out of the ordinary thoughts and communications and the ability to tap into higher dimensions of consciousness with more ease. While the Aquarius moon is being stimulated by Uranus and supported by Venus and the Sun, this brings an emotionally positive day with a desire to start something new or try something new, but also to be more social and experience cooperation and opportunities with others. The ninth is 9 Serpent, which is about stability through being flexible, with the moon being supported by Saturn and challenged by Jupiter and merging with Neptune. This brings a day with the fortitude for moving forward with something you would like to have endure. But also it's about being careful of something that looks too good to be true. And then later, there's really wonderful imaginative and creative energy available. And then June 10th, this is 5 Transformation, which is about empowerment through releasing what no longer serves us. While the Pisces moon is being supported by Mercury and stimulated by Pluto and challenged by Venus, the day starts out with clarity about our emotions and then is followed by being empowered as we go into our depths, and wraps up with seeking pleasure and beauty. The 11th is 6 Deer. This is about being in the flow through being of service to others as Jupiter moves into the sign of Gemini, which is going to be in Gemini for the next year, which is going to bring expansion into our ideas and knowledge. And on that day, we have Mercury is challenged by Uranus and being opposed by Pluto. This creates the T-square that really foreshadows this upcoming square between Pluto and Uranus that I've been talking about, this is going to completely change our world over the next 4 years. So on the 11th, expect to see sparks and hear shocking information, and with Pluto involved in this we can expect there's going to be transformation tied to all this intensity. And this may be also have this rapid realization of having been unaware, and then boom, you're awake and you're aware of something. All this is happening on the last quarter moon as it's opposed by Mars and challenged by the Sun, which, the day could have some tension and irritability emotionally. Then we get into June 12th. This is 7 Star. This is about reflection through being grateful for abundant relationships. And on that day, we've got Chiron, the wounded healers, turning retrograde. So it's really sitting still. It's at the peak of its power during this entire 13-day period. But Chiron turning retrograde, this will be a time of reviewing and remembering our old wounds so that they can be healed. And on the 12th, Chiron's receiving support from Mercury, which will make this experience much more conscious. As the Aries moon will also be in harmony with Jupiter and Venus, merging with Uranus and challenged by Pluto and Mercury, brings a really busy emotional day. But it begins with congenial feelings. And then we have impulsive actions and compulsion to, in our behaviors. And later, the emotions may even become overwhelming our rational thinking. And then finally, just wanting to be with those we love. And then on the 13th, we've got 8 offering, which is about balance through appreciating all of creation as the sun receives support from Saturn, which illuminates our relationships and with and also our effect on our environment, and whether we define our environment to be the planet, nature that's directly around us, or even our homes. But this is really bringing a focus and illumination on those areas. While the moon is opposed by Saturn and in harmony with the sun, the day starts with sort of feelings of loneliness and isolation, but later there's a sense of equanimity and having breathing space, even if life is not running smoothly. And then June 14th, this is 9 Dog. It's about patience through enjoying family and friends. With the moon moves into Taurus and harmonizes with Neptune. This brings empathy for others, but also psychic connections if you're kind of wired that way. The 15th is 10 Monkey, which is manifestation through creating something new. The moon receives support from Pluto and is stimulated by Mercury. So it's a day of intense feelings and increased communications. June 16th is 11 Road, which is about resolution through community service. And Venus and Chiron are in a challenging square, which basically brings social interactions that actually trigger our old wounds to bring them conscious so we can heal them. With the Taurus moon is receiving some support from Mars, which brings the ability to assert ourselves positively. The 17th is 12 Reed, and that is the Tzolkin day, which is about understanding through maintaining our homes. As the moon moves into Gemini and merges with Jupiter and Venus, it's challenged by Neptune and stimulated by Uranus. That's a lot of stuff. So the day starts with good feelings and then shifts into daydream, and then has sort of pleasant but restless feelings, and finally a desire just to get out and socialize. And then we get to the last day of the Trecena. June 18th is 13 Jaguar, and this is the movement to the next stage through enjoying nature. And on that day, we have the Gemini moon being challenged by Mars and supported by Saturn, which could bring irritability, but also inner strength. Anyway, so this being the One Wind Tzolkin, and One Wind has these themes of air and breath and life force and Qi, which moves through the meridians in the Chinese medical system, which is very much the equivalent of prana, moving through the nadis in the Vedic or Hindu system. This inspired me to discuss the chakras as they are connected through the nadis, and the mutation of humans from having these 7 centers connected with these major nadis to a mutation into having 9 centers, which we see in the human design system that I use for readings. Anyway, and throughout history, as we evolve as humans, we've changed. Like historically, the Neanderthal man was a 5-centered being, and then humans from the Neanderthal time, what came after Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon and forward, were 7-centered beings. But and that 7-centered being, they had a real strong right-brained, strategic brain, because the energy flows in this way. The 9-centered Neanderthal brain was more strongly right-brained, passion, art, fighting, that just real receptive but passionate. But with the 7-centered, it's a strategic model. It's the energy really flows in one direction. And in that system, there are 3 dominant nadis or energy channels, and the nadi that runs from the base chakra and carries the kundalini out through the crown chakra is called the Sushumna. And on either side of the Sushumna, there are two nadis that crisscross as they go through each of the channels. And the one carries the heating energy, the other carries more of the cooling energy. And the nadi that carries the heating energy, and it goes up and that actually connects to the right nostril, is called the Pingala. And then the cooling energy is connected to the left nostril through the channel that's called the Ida. And for thousands of years, alternate nostril breathing, or nadi shodhana, was taught to yogis who had a strong foundation doing the postures as asanas as a way to stimulate the energy and move the kundalini up from the root chakra up through all these rows of chakras as they spin like wheels up through the crown chakra at the top of the head. This was very strategic. This design yields a left brain dominance, very strategic, very logical. The seven-centered humans lived a Saturnian orbit life cycle. Saturn takes 28 to 30 years to make a complete orbit around the sun. And so the life expectancy was 30 years, with midlife occurring at 15. And now that's why we see a lot of our teenagers around that year have a real struggle with that if they're living in more of a Saturnian life cycle that these seven centers are about. But in 1781, coincidental to Sir William Herschel's discovery of the planet Uranus, humans mutated into this nine-centered design, and we started living a Uranian life cycle of 84 years, where midlife started occurring at 42 years of age. And another manifestation of this mutation is the shift to right brain consciousness. As we can see, this design, that there's many more channels, and these channels all come from the Kabbalistic tree of life. And what this does is this has shifted into a more receptive thinking model. And what's happened is, as we've become more and more right brain and receptive, it's getting a diagnosis. And that's what we see is increase in autism spectrum disorders like Asperger's being diagnosed in schools and learning institutions, because those learning institutions are geared towards left brain dominant strategic thinkers, and they don't know how to handle right brain thinking. But as humanity, we are moving towards a right brain model, which the next shift will be in 2027. Anyway, all of this information comes from a revelation that came from a man named Ra Uru Hu, and became the human design system. And this is what if you get a reading from me, the basic reading is the human design system, because to me, when I think about, there was a video with Ian Lungold, who was going through, the different fifth day and fifth nights of the tune calendar, and he was saying that in the fifth night we get exactly what we need in order to survive the fifth. In the fifth day we get exactly what we need to survive the fifth night, and my experience is, human design we got in 1987 through this revelation, which happened to be right around the time of the harmonic convergence, so to me, it really is here implanted in our consciousness to give us crucial information in order to navigate this transformation that we'll be going through with the Pluto-Uranus squares over the next 4 years. And I've studied this chakra system. I graduated. For 3 years I studied intensely in a teacher training program for become a yoga teacher. So I know it really well. And one of the things I really feel like is that in understanding an energy system, that human design offers a much more accurate description than the chakra system. I sort of equate that if you want to use the chakra system to understand a modern human, it would be like looking at the owner's manual for a 1908 Ford Model T to fix your modern car that's out in the driveway. I mean, you can look at it. Yeah, they both have engines, they both have tires, and a lot of the same components. But your modern automobile has electronics, might even have an onboard computer that you're never going to find in the Model T manual. And so human design offers something that I just don't find in astrology, numerology, tarot, or any other system that I know, is that it offers a person a strategy so that they really stay in the flow of by looking at their own unique design. Your design tells you what you need to do and what you need to look for so that you're at the right place at the right time with the right people during this tumultuous transitions through time between the end of the fourth world and the beginning of the fifth world. You just don't find that in any other system. Anyway, that's but my feeling is that we are no longer seven-centered beings. That we have now become nine-centered beings. We've now become more receptive thinkers, and we're now supposed to live an 84-year life cycle, not a 30-year life cycle. But no matter what you believe, whether you feel like you operate as having 7 chakras or 9 centers during this One Wind Tzolkin, just take some time out to be in the flow with the planet by being in nature. Watch a sunrise or a sunset. Commune with the stars. Being conscious of the moment by being introspective or meditative or just really savoring being with somebody you love. Every single day we have is a blessing, no matter what dramas are out there to distract us. I feel like we're all really giving the performance of a lifetime out here on the world stage. But to me, what's really important is that you take some time out, to realize, that yes, you have a part to act in the play, but you also have a part to act in observing the play. So remember that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of Care and Feeding of a New World Age will be on June 19th for One Eagle, and I'm also going to discuss the second Gemini new moon, the solstice, which will be summer in the north and winter in the south, Venus and Saturn both turning direct, and the first exact square of Uranus and Pluto, and I'll go into depth on that. And Mercury will also be moving into Leo. It's going to be a big report. Anyway, you can check us out on Facebook and YouTube and the Mind Magic's website. And as always, I invite you to email me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com. If you got any questions about what I'm talking about here, or if you wish to schedule a reading, I am providing readings and wish to make the service available to the greatest amount of folks. I've created 3 sort of levels of readings with different levels of compensation. Like I said, the basic reading, I'm going to talk about your human design. At the second level, I'll discuss some of the transits that are coming up for you, and then at the the top level of reading, I'll record the reading and swash it down onto an MP3 and upload it onto the computer so you can download it and have the reading to listen to over and over again. But if you really need something, I will do my best to accommodate everybody. But I really hope that if you're looking for a reading during these uncertain times, please, it would be my pleasure to provide that to you. So feel free to contact me. I welcome that. It's crazy out there. Anyway, to get the reading, you need to be able to either call me in Maine or we can connect over Skype. I do that for a lot of the international ones. I also do it for local ones. As always, I am deeply, deeply blessed that you've taken the time out to connect to all of this and my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. As always, the light in me honors the light in you. Namaste and Lakesh.